Well, unfortunately, on Wednesday's video report, I was unable to deliver a complimentary winner for you, as I was certainly on the wrong side of the Oklahoma City-Utah Jazz contest, but I've still won 10 of my last 13 complimentary plays over the past 10 days, so that's a nice short-term run. And you know as well as I do, the long-term run has certainly been fruitful as well. And for today's video report, I've got a complimentary selection coming up on game number 3 of the Golden State-San Antonio series, a series in which I'm a perfect 2-0, as I cashed in with the top-rated 15-dime best bet winner on the Warriors in game number 1, and then came back and gave you a free selection on the Warriors in game number 2. I'm also going to give you my thoughts on game number 3 of the Philadelphia-Miami series, which by far is the toughest game on tonight's card. My best bet tonight happens to be another top-rated 15-dime release on the New Orleans-Portland series, a series in which I'm a perfect 2-0 on. Now, the big featured play here at the site, no ifs, ands, or buts, that would be courtesy of Shawn Michaels, who has won each of the past 5 days. Last night coming off another 100-dime max wager winner, this time on Indiana. You've gotten each of the past 5 days worth of winners for over half price off. Nothing different tonight. Another 100-dime max wager release in the NBA, this time as well in game number 3 of New Orleans and Portland. He had New Orleans 2 nights ago, 100-dime max wager. Just like that one, you get this one for over half price off by using coupon code HOOPS, H-O-O-P-S. All the other discount codes and promotional coupons are over on the home page, so that's where you can find them. As for me, yes, I have another play tonight, just as strong as last night's on the Pacers, just as strong as 2 nights ago on Portland. That's my best bet, as I said. Also on New Orleans and Portland. Now, last night, I had a 15-dime best bet on Indiana. And before I look forward to tonight's complimentary plays, I think it's always important to take a look back, a quick review of a couple of games last night. Listen, Indiana, if you were like me last night on the Pacers, you were probably a little worried when LeBron made it a 16-1 game, because it was LeBron 16, the Pacers won midway through the first quarter as he scored the first 16 points for the Cavaliers. But listen, guys, what the takeaway from last night's game is this. LeBron, you knew, was going to come out and be very aggressive, as I put in my analysis yesterday. Even though I told you the Cavaliers were the Pacers were the play, getting the 8 points, you knew LeBron, so tentative in the first quarter and at the outset of game number 1, was going to come out and be hell-bent on taking the ball to the hoop, and he was last night. But what you didn't factor in, and what nobody could possibly know, was that Victor Oladipo was going to suddenly pick up 2 fouls and be sitting on the bench 62 seconds into the game. No one was going to be able to expect that. So LeBron was magnificent, 46 points, scored the team's first 16 points, had 29 points at halftime. Cavs were up by as many 17 points in the first quarter, and there you had Oladipo finishing with just 22 points, 10 less than he had in game number 1. Only played 28 minutes last night. But there were the Pacers, still not scared at all of the Cavaliers, chipping away, chipping away, chipping away. And Oladipo had that wide open 3 with under a minute to go, probably the most open shot he had all night long, and he missed it. And it would have tied the game. And the Pacers were right there, overcoming that huge deficit, overcoming that monstrous game from LeBron, right there on the verge of perhaps forcing overtime, or perhaps setting up a game-winning shot at the end of regulation. Again, they were this close from taking a 2-0 lead in that series. You know, Kevin Love had 15 points, but again, the x-rays were negative on the broken hand, but it's the same hand that cost him action late in the season. But apparently, reportedly, he had some minor ligament damage. He's going to probably play. But, you know, when you look at the Pacers, again last night, this Cleveland team plays no defense. We saw that all season long. Pacers shot 52.6% in Cleveland in game number 2. The difference last night versus game number 1, well, 1, again, Oladipo had to take a seat on the bench early, and they had no answers offensively. And 2, they couldn't hit from three-point range last night. 6 for 22 on three-pointers. And they committed 17 turnovers, which led to 18 points for Cleveland. Now, the Cavaliers shot 50.7%, and they still followed up game number 1 where they had 17 turnovers that led to 18 Indiana points. Last night they had 15 turnovers, which led to 15 Indiana points. But you saw the Pacers once again dominate in the paint. They outscored Cleveland down low by a 62-30 margin. 62-30. Cavaliers have no interior game. You saw the Cavaliers bench. Let's see, it was Larry Nance, Jeff Green, who has just been miserable in the series, Jose Calderon, who should have retired 3 years ago, Clarkson, and Rodney Hood. They played a combined 80 minutes off the bench. And what did they provide? 16 points. It was basically LeBron, and that's it. So if LeBron doesn't score another 45 points in Game 3 and Game 4, man, the Cavaliers are in big, desperate straits. And if Love can't start producing offensively, and I'm talking about a hell of a lot more than 15 points with a hand injury again, the Cavaliers are in big trouble for the rest of the series. And listen, you saw again last night that Darren Collison, who had a bad game in game number 1, 2 for 9 from the field, last night he warmed up just like he shot. I think in the 4 regular season games, he hit at a 70% clip against Cleveland. Last night, he had a good game. Let me just look at the box score real quick. 16 points on 7 for 11 shooting. Guards just torched the Cleveland defenders all season long. Backcourts lit them up all season long. They're going to do it the rest of the series as well. So I think Cleveland still has a tough road to carry here in this series. Now, in terms of the Utah-Oklahoma City contest, you know Oklahoma City goes on that great run. What was it, like an 18-0 run? They take the big lead, and then they totally collapse. You know, the big three, once again, proved to be a big fraud. 0 for 14 combined in the fourth quarter, a total of 2 points. And here's a number that you have to remember, 19. What does 19 signify? 19 shots by Russell Westbrook in the game? Jesus. Russell Westbrook. Listen, buddy, you got to be launching 25 shots. You got to be selfish, because if you're relying on Paul George to once again score 36 points like he did in the opener, it ain't going to happen. He had 21 last night, and he was cold. And if you're relying on Carmelo Anthony to win the game for you, well, we've seen through 82 regular season games, that ain't the way you're going to win. Russell Westbrook needs more than 19 shots. Jeremy Grant took 10 shots, scored 13 points. But when Russell Westbrook is taking 19 shots and Jeremy Grant's coming off the bench and taking 10 shots, there is something wrong with the Thunder offense. Nothing wrong with the Utah Jazz offense last night. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, 0 for 7 from three-point land, and he still finishes with 28, 13 of them in the fourth quarter. Rudy Gobert, they got the ball down low to him. He dominated the boards. They out-rebounded, I think, the Thunder by 8. Gobert had a big game. Derek Favors, 20 points, 16 rebounds. Ricky Rubio finally rediscovered a shot. Game number 3 in that series is going to be damn interesting as well. Okay, let's fast forward to tonight's game. I know there's going to be a lot of emotion in San Antonio because of the passing of Greg Popovich's wife. And Popovich is not going to coach tonight. So you know there's going to be a groundswell of emotion, and that is certainly going to motivate the Spurs. But it doesn't always work in fairy tales. You know, the good guys don't always win. And the Warriors are still the more talented team. I like the fact that Steve Kerr once again started that more defensive-oriented lineup for the second straight game in game number 2. And that lineup, which featured only for the second time this season, Andre Iguodala and JaVale McGee starting alongside Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant, produced. And they produced offensively. McGee, you know, had another nice game. He had 15 points and 4 rebounds in 16 minutes in the opener, and then he had 10 points and 7 rebounds in 19 minutes in game number 2. And Andre Iguodala had one of his best offensive games in a couple of months with 14.7 rebounds and 5 assists. But then you had Kevin Durant with 32 points on 10 for 19 shooting with 6 rebounds. You had Klay Thompson with 31 points on 12 for 20 shooting. You know, after 27 points on 11 for 13 shooting in the opener. And this is the amazing thing. You know, the Warriors opened the lead, extended that lead, one going away and covered with a double-digit win, even though Durant missed his first 5 three-point attempts, even though Thompson struggled at the outside of that game, even though Draymond Green didn't hit his first field goal till the early moments of the fourth quarter. And yet they still won going away. They won even though LaMarcus Aldridge rebounded from that 12-point effort in game number 1 with 34 points in game number 2. Even though Patty Mills had 21 points. Even though Rudy Gay got the start and had 12 points. They still won going away. They shot 52. The Warriors shot 52.2%, 6% in game number 2. They shot 54.3% in game number 1. The Spurs, shot 40% in game number 1. They shot 41.2% in game number 2. They don't have enough firepower in their offensive arsenal to compete with the Warriors. The Warriors are a 4-point favorite. I don't see any other way to play this game. I got to go with the Warriors in this game and lay the points. Now, the Philadelphia series. 2-2 in the regular season, right? Miami won both games at home. Joel Embiid was there, right? And Philadelphia won both games at home. On their floor. Philadelphia dominant in game number 1, overwhelmed in game number 2 because the Heat had that great second quarter and the Heat were physical. Oh, were the Heat not trying to be physical in game number 1? Let me think about that. Then, what happened really in game number 2? Sixers fell down by 16 points. Sixers come back, make a 2-point game with about a minute and a half to go, right? Why? Were the Heat not suddenly physical? No. The reason the Sixers lost in game number 2 is because the team that was so deadly with 18 three-pointers in game number 1 shot like at a 23% clip from three-point land and only hit 6 three-pointers in game number 2. The team that has been so successful while Joel Embiid was out was spacing the floor with great ball movement, with deadly accuracy from three-point range, couldn't hit the broad side of the barn from beyond the arc in game number 2. That was the difference between Philadelphia in game number 1 and game number 2. Now, can Philadelphia hit tonight? Embiid is doubtful, okay? At this point, at 4:35 Eastern Time, he's doubtful. Even if he plays tonight, he's not going to be playing 35 minutes. He's not going to come in and rescue the team. But the fact is, the Sixers can still win this game. If I was betting this game, and I'm not, if I was going to endorse it as a free pick, which I'm not, I'm just telling you as a Sixers fan, I would not be surprised to see the Sixers win this game because Miami is still a flawed team. Do I think Dwayne Wade is going to find the fountain of youth for a third straight game? Do I think it's more likely that the Sixers are going to space the floor and rediscover their three-point shot? Yes, I do. Because this Sixers team that won by 27 points and scored 130 points in game number 1 is capable of doing that. And I think the odds are better that the Sixers rediscover their three-point range, rediscover that up-tempo game that made them so successful in this stretch where Embiid has been out. The odds are better for that happening than the Heat playing that, hey, we're going to be physical and slowing down the tempo of the game and out muscling the Sixers in a half-court, slower tempo game. I just think the odds favor the Sixers more in the scenario I painted. So I think Philadelphia is actually the play here. I think it's a trap for people to look at game number 2 and say, hey, Miami's discovered the secret in this game. I just don't think that's the way to go. Now, am I wearing rose-colored glasses? A little bit, because I'm a huge Sixers fan. Listen, my first year following the Sixers, they were 9-72, okay? Or 9-73. What can I tell you? I mean, you grow up, as that's the first year you remember following the NBA, you'd be a Sixers fan too for life. So I like the Sixers tonight, but the real official complimentary play, it's the Golden State Warriors. That'll do it, guys. I wish you well and talk to you again tomorrow.